Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I am heading off to the orchard this morning with the truck. The first thing I got to do is get some gas because the gas tank leaks if I fill it up too much. I can only put a little bit in at a time, so I'm always filling it. So I'll do that first and then we'll head to the orchard. I've got all the supplies for the dormant oil loaded, the container of it, a bunch of containers, paintbrushes, everything we need to paint the trees. It's below freezing. It's only, a degree or two below freezing, but I think it'll be okay today. I don't think it'll freeze this oil when we paint it on. All right. Oh, a cold morning. Get the key out. Now, how many pumps is it going to take this morning? I think 4 because it's very cold out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Extra one. Ooh. Started. All right. Seatbelt is on. Oh, ready to go. Cold morning. Oh. The Micra is in getting the summer tires put on. I dropped that off this morning and walked back from the garage. It was a cold walk back. It was like a really strong headwind. It's not going to be very warm in the orchard either. But we got to get it done. All right, let's try going out of here. Just keep it revved up a bit more. Maneuver the beast in here. There we go. Engine off. I'll be back. I did get lots of reminders to oil my clutch. That was good. It is done. The pedal, it was squeaking. All right, we're ready to go to the community orchard for a cold day of painting dormant oil. I don't think it'll take that long. Here we go. Gas was $1.25 per liter for regular, and I put premium in the truck, which I don't know what that costs. I should have checked. It's probably like $1.45 per liter. Okay, I'm gonna drive in, so I'll give you a view of driving in here. Here we go. There's no curb here anymore. They fixed that. Got 2 volunteers out today, Dorothy and Kathy. So here's the dormant oil. I just put it in a container and we're just brushing it on all the trees. So Kathy's starting on that back row. Dorothy's starting the ones by the community gardens. And I'm going to start in the First Nations garden and out to the spiral orchard. Hi everyone, I'm back in the truck. It is freezing out. It actually started snowing while we were painting the dormant oil on the trees. So got 4 volunteers out today, so that's really good. People are dedicated to come out in this weather and help out with the orchard. So now I'm gonna go home. All right, seatbelt on. I'm gonna put those mud tires to use here. Let me just turn the wipers on. Does that make it all smeary? That's okay. All right, here we go. I'm gonna have to turn around up here somewhere. Maybe I'll just drive right through here. Do a bit of off-roading, eh? Turn down here. So these are kind of the roadways that we have planned in the orchard along the perimeter here. And then we can come down the central row down here. bumpy. Whoa. Few potholes there. All right, out we go. Yeah, normally when we work in the orchard, we're shoveling wood chips and wheelbarrowing and digging so you stay warm. But today we're just painting the dormant oil on, and it was a cold wind and it started snowing and we had to pack it up. It was just too cold, and you don't warm up painting trees. Here we are, home. Home sweet home. Just like that. Engine off. Nice. Yeah, all right. I'm so cold because we had to unwrap the wraps around the trunks of the trees that protect them from rabbits, and you can't do that with gloves on, so you have to take them off and unwrap all the spirals, then paint the tree, and then put the spirals back on, and it's so cold. So cold. I think we're getting down to -7 degrees Celsius tonight. And the high today is, a couple of degrees below freezing. And there's a nasty wind. All right. That's it for the orchard part of today. It is the next day now, and I'm going to repot my Crassula ovata, or commonly known as a jade. I got this jade off of Jacques from our KW Bonsai Society at the swap meet I think it was last weekend. And when I first saw the tree, I was a little worried because it was all wrinkly here. And usually that's a sign that the trunk is rotted and it's no good. But this one is nice and firm. So whatever happened to this cutting, it has repaired itself and it's back to health. So that's really good. There is a large branch that got removed on this side that is also beginning to heal. You can see the wound is healing on the inside here, developing a new outer skin to the trunk. There's a large branch that was removed here in the past that's healed over completely. There's a branch on this side. There's a branch here. And then there's growth on the top, which is really good because this tree has been severely shortened. There's a big branch that's being removed here and a big branch that's being removed here. But it has an apex, which is just awesome for the size of the trunk, which is, fairly thick. Zin from Maybe Bonsai called this the arm-sized jade. It's not quite it's a little smaller than my arm, but anyway, so we'll call it the arm-sized jade. I think that's a good name for it. And I think it has potential to become something quite special in the future because it is so short and it has this leader right up on top. Yeah, it's got all the potential to become a really nice, old, mature-looking jade. Here's a close-up of that trunk, which is very, very firm. It's nothing wrong with it. And there's the wound. The large branch was removed here. And you can see all the new skin growing on the inside here. So that's really good. Someday this will blend in. This jade cutting is just planted in a plastic nursery pot, and it has ordinary potting soil in it. So today I'm going to get it underway as a bonsai, taking it out of the pot, getting it in a new pot with bonsai soil, having a look at the root system, and maybe removing some. I can see the soil level is quite low here on this side, and it's higher on this side, and I can see roots that have formed on the one side that are kind of too high up. So we'll have to take it out, and with a cutting like this, you never know how deeply the cutting was planted in the soil. It could be, the roots may be way down in the pot, way down here, or they could be up halfway, or just surface roots. So you have to get the tree out of the pot to see exactly what's going on, even before you pick a front for the tree. I may not be too fussy about a front for the tree today. I'm just want to develop it into the future. It's You know, I want to get it on the right track, but it's far from being ready to be a showpiece. Here's a look at the roots. You can see there's roots really high up on the trunk here. But if I turn it around, you can see this is lower and there's no surface roots on this side. So they may be deeper down, but we'll see that when I take it out of the pot. When you're picking a pot for a jade, it's important to match the pot with the tree. If you have too large a pot and too large a volume of soil, the soil never dries out and the jade could rot away. You want a pot size that's just a little bigger than the root base of the tree. So usually, you know, the roots on a jade aren't much bigger than the trunk diameter. So this size of a pot is probably ideal. It allows the soil to dry out, you know, on a good sunny day. Also, because these trees are quite top heavy, you know, once they get a big canopy up here, they tend to want to tip over. So you need a fairly stable pot too. You don't want, you know, a very tall pot with a small footprint down low, because in a wind it could tip over. So you want something that's very stable at the base. You also want a pot that's fairly deep. If you have too shallow a pot, you don't get that hydraulic action when you water it. The water just kind of sits in the bottom of the pot, and that could cause root rot also. So you want a fairly deep pot. So the pot that it's in now is probably ideal. It's the right size for the jade. It's high enough and it's stable. It can take the weight of the tree once it gets a little more top heavy. So I think I need to find a pot something like this. And I don't know if I have one, but I'll look around. When you've matched your jade to a nice sized pot, it allows you to water and fertilize more often because it has good drainage. You have bonsai soil in there, which drains freely. A nice high pot, not too big, not too small. So the soil will dry out daily, so you can water and fertilize your trees daily, your jade. And it should grow really strongly and be really healthy. Now you do have to watch, you have to keep these jades out of the rain. If you have like a long rain that sometimes can last 2 or 3 days of rain, you want to put the jade inside. Otherwise it'll just stay in wet soil too long and you could get trunk rot and root rot and all kinds of problems. So I put my jades outside in the summer in full sun, and then if it's raining, I bring them into the greenhouse, and when it stops raining, they go back out on the benches. I keep them on my watering schedule, not Mother Nature's. I'm going to head outside now. I've got to do 2 things. I've got to find a pot for the jade, and I've got to make up some new bonsai soil because I've run out, and I'll use that for repotting. I'm in the greenhouse here, warming my hands up. It's still quite cold outside. So I've got my soil mixed up. It's 50% perlite and 50% turfus, and I mix them equally. And you just look at it visually, so there's not too much perlite and not too much turfus. I'm going to look for a pot for the jade now. One that's not too big, not too small, not too shallow, and not too deep. I've been looking around for a suitable pot, and I found this one. It's a plastic pot, and it's fairly deep, and it's not all that big. That's my best possibility so far, but I'll keep looking. Here's a look at all my possibilities. I have a tall kind of purple colored one. I've got a greeny one that has holes on the sides of it. I've got one that looks kind of like a woven basket, and then a kind of flower pattern one on the end there. I think I don't like the style of the purple one at all for a jade. It looks like it would tip over too easily. The second one I think is a little too small. The other one is perfect, but I'm just not keen on that style of pot. It might suit some kind of tree, but I don't think the jade. I don't know. It's a possibility. And the other one on the end, tough choice. Now, I'm trying to think, what is the perfect pot for a jade? I do want to kind of evoke the feeling of an African landscape, so yeah, it's a tough choice. I think the one on the end, the first one I picked out, that plastic one, it's a good size, so I can get a bit of landscaping in underneath the tree. And I think with the bonsai soil in there, it'll dry out quite nicely. And it's got room for the tree to grow, so it can, increase in thickness. It can stay in that pot probably, at least 3 years, maybe more. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with the brown pot on the end. The only problem with this pot is the soil is frozen in the pot. So I'll have to let that thaw out, and then I can tip the soil out and put fresh soil in. I think I had the coastal redwood in there, which didn't make it. I've got both the soil and my pot warming up here in the greenhouse, thawing it out, and then I'll bring it inside to the plant room to repot the jade. In the meantime, let's have a look at some pictures of jades in the wild, and that might give me some landscaping ideas for underneath the tree. I've got my pot inside here. It's all washed out. I've got my soil in the plant room. So I'm ready to repot the jade. This jade could be styled into many different forms. I could grow it taller. I could grow it like a broom style, more of a baobab kind of style. There's a lot of possibilities. The things going for this tree, it has a really thick trunk that tapers nicely to this apex that's growing up top. That's an important part or features of this tree, is that kind of robustness of the trunk. I think eventually I will remove these lower branches, but I'm keeping them on for now just to get energy back into the tree. I'll develop this top and maybe eventually more of a typical kind of crown on the tree, a broom style up here. Yeah, it's a nice start getting this kind of thickness of a trunk. Lots of character on the trunk. The trunk isn't that old yet. You can see it doesn't really have much of a bark texture, and it's not really that silvery gray color of a really old jade. So that's something to look forward to as it gets older into the future. I've got some plastic down here to catch the soil, so I'm going to remove the tree from the pot. So here I go. Like that. Okay, so You can see there's not a lot of roots on it, but that's okay. We'll get roots. So I'm going to start combing out the soil now. So I'll take the pot away and get out my root rake. I've got my root rake, so here I go. I'm going to really be gentle while combing these out. I don't want to wreck any of these fine roots that have developed. The soil mixture this tree in is quite free draining. It's not like typical potting soil. It has sand and grit in it. I noticed some of the figs that I got, the Natal ficuses, they were in the same soil and it drained really well when I watered it. However, it does hold a little too much moisture in the soil. It's better with a more porous mixture. So I'm getting a little bit of rot at the base here. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. Okay, I think that's as close as I can get using the root rake. I'm going to try washing it now under water. So I'm going to take it up to the bathtub and give it a clean, just so I can see exactly what's here. So I'll do that and come back. I've washed the root base on this tree, and you can see that it's healed over really nicely. The original cutting. So that's really good. There is roots at a lot of different levels, as I said before, but I think Jock kind of had the planting height here, and there's a lot of roots at that level, so I think I'm going to keep it at that level, and maybe more roots will grow out kind of around the surface here. It's quite possible they will. If roots do develop around this ring here, I can then remove that bottom in the future to kind of get a nice flat radial root base. So with the tree in the pot, if the bottom of the roots are sitting, it's a little low. I notice my root plane here. So I've got to put a base layer in the pot to bring it up to about that kind of a level. So maybe about that much in the bottom of the pot. All right, so now my base layer of soil can go in. So now I've got to pick a front for this tree. And like I said, I'll probably remove these lower branches eventually and develop this apex up top. So that's not really much of a factor. It's mainly, you know, the best view of the trunk. So the backside has all these wrinkles, which are a pretty cool feature. Tough choice, tough choice. I've got this big wound where a branch was, but that could be cleaned up. I could smooth that over. So that's not really a factor either. I think somewhere here. I mean, every view is okay on this tree, but I think here. So yeah, I'll just put it offset slightly in the pot. Try and get my roots arranged there. That looks like a good height, maybe a little more central. And yeah, I think about there. I think that's pretty good. So I'll fill it in with soil. I'm hoping it stays upright in the pot by itself without any wiring or anything. If I need to, I can place stones around the surface to hold the tree in the pot until the roots get established. It seems to be staying upright already by itself, so that's a good sign. Let's get the roots, or the soil in here by the roots. This will be an interesting tree to watch develop over the next 5 years. Both style-wise and how it grows. I don't see a lot of jades planted in bonsai soil, and I find when they are in bonsai soil, they grow really well. On a really good summer, you can pretty well double the size of the trunk on a jade if you let the top grow, you know, without pruning and that. So yeah, they can grow pretty fast if they, you know, you have a nice warm sunny summer. You let the top grow, it'll really thicken up. And you have a fairly large size pot to grow lots of roots in too. That's another factor. Kind of like my aloe. It You put it in the bigger pot and it just fills the pot with roots and it just grows like crazy. All right, I just gotta top the soil up here a bit more. Now I don't need to water this because the soil had some moisture in it, the turfus. So I'm going to just leave it be. I'll wait till the plant continues growing. You know, it's got a few new leaves on it since I brought it home already. So I think in the next week or so it'll start perking up and looking really good. And then once the soil dries out thoroughly, I can give it a thorough watering, add some fertilizer to the water, and get it going on another water cycle. Again, letting the soil dry out completely and then thoroughly watering once again. So that water cycle will keep it really healthy. So now I need to do a little landscaping here. So I'm going to dress the surface of the soil with some red turfus, some of that athletic turfus. So I've got some of that and I'll put it on the surface of the soil. I brought in some reddish colored rocks in case I want to make kind of a copy landscape. And I've got my red turfus. You could use red lava rock, would work fine too. It's kind of mixed in with some lighter colored stone. Hopefully it'll look good. And hopefully I have enough to kind of dress the surface with. So I'm going to start by planting the rocks and then I'll put the turfus around it. All right, I'm going to start by positioning the largest rock. So let me see. Again, trying to find an interesting part of the rock. Yeah, I'll put this one out here. That looks better. So I've got that one kind of more off to the side, so it doesn't look quite so symmetrical. I think that uses all of the pot more too. I like that. Okay, I'll put my red colored turfus on now. I'll use a spoon and just kind of spoon it around the tree. This is just purely decorative. Get that red colored African soil. It kind of looks nice around the rocks too. It's so nice to get my arm-sized jade planted and underway as a bonsai. Just rotate it around there. So it's got a lot of growing and a lot of healing to go. But as I said, it's on its way. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.